The second skill that we are here to teach you today is all about letting the client lead the way. So, you've learned about the sandbox. You know how to set the focus and the intention for the session. Once that is clearly defined, you get to now explore, enter into the heart of the exploration on the topic. And this skill around letting your client lead the way is a really unique skill to coaching. I know that when I went into my coach training over a decade ago, I went into coaching because I was I thought I was really exceptional at giving really awesome advice. I've had a lot of lived experiences. I felt like I had a lot of wisdom to offer and share. I was the go-to person for my people. And I just felt like I am an expert advice giver. And that's why I was going into coaching. And I'll never forget, the first week in my coach training, my mentor saying that coaching is not about advice giving. In fact, there is no advice giving in coaching. And I thought, oh, well, like what the heck are people going to pay me for then? I thought I had made a mistake. I was so confused about what coaching was. And what I have learned since that day over 10 years ago is that people will pay you for far more than your advice. They will pay you to help them access their own wisdom, their own advice. And that really is the heart of coaching. Michelle, we talk about this one guiding principle in the MRA around clients are whole, capable, resourceful, and creative. And that is such an important space to hold your client in, that their wisdom, their solutions, their knowing resides inside of them and not you as the coach. And your job is to artfully, with your coaching skills and the space that you hold, your job is to artfully draw that out of your client, not impart it on them. Michelle, do you want to talk about your experience with this client centricity?
Okay, so I grew up with pretty good parents who a phrase they often told me was trust your gut. So on some level, I was told I can trust myself, trust my gut. However, in real life, especially in really important situations, I actually didn't trust myself. And there's this moment that I remember so clearly, so vividly. It was like, it changed me a little bit. I was pregnant with my first child and my water had broke. I was almost 2 weeks late. Midwives, people were telling me, you need to go to the hospital. There could be infection. Like, you need to go. This is an emergency. And I was dragging my feet like, I don't want to go. All sorts of things were running in my mind. Like, I'm horrible. I'm irresponsible. And then one of my midwives, I'll never forget where I was sitting. I was on the phone with her and she said, I trust you. I trust your instincts. What does your gut say? What do you believe? And I said, I believe me and my baby are okay and I can stay home. And that was it. And she said, I believe you. I trust you. And then I thought, wait, I'm making this decision for myself? Like, I can be trusted? Anyway, it was extremely stretchy. I did trust myself. They trusted me and it all worked out beautifully. And that felt like this revolutionary moment where a seed was planted in me. Then I kept living life, maybe not trusting myself. And I come to coach training. And when people were coaching me and space was being held for me, the coaches were asking me what I knew and what I believed. And it started, yes, I had that profound experience where it proved to myself I could trust myself, but as an actual way of operating, it started wiring me differently. This coach was asking me questions and I got to give the answer, and I got to choose the direction. I got to choose the right way. I got to choose the truth. I got to choose the wisdom. The next best steps of what I was going to do, I chose what I thought were best. That has been the most empowering experience, and continues to be, of my entire life, because someone trusted me to lead the way.
It's also what differentiates coaching from other modalities. As a coach and client, you are equals in the process. You are equals in this container. The client is the expert of their life, and the coach is the expert of the transformative change process, the coaching skills, the space holding. But you're equals. There's no hierarchy in coaching. And you really feel that when you're sitting with a skilled coach. You feel that. The coach is able to mirror back wholeness, mirror back your wisdom, help you to reach into the depths of your being to pull out your wisdom, your knowledge, your knowing, your next step. And that over time creates really impactful change in the client. So this notion around your client is whole, capable, resourceful, and creative. They hold the wisdom, they hold the solutions. And what that does is it helps, it puts you into this like very, very curious coaching posture, which is where a coach should be seated inside of the session, where the flashlight is always on your client. I want you to think of it this way, and this is what we talk a lot about in coach training, is that every time the coach centers themselves by offering advice or sharing a personal story or sharing a personal experience that was similar to the client, what the coach does is the coach actually takes the spotlight off the client and puts it on themselves. And so it's not to say that your lived experience or offerings that you'd like to make are not valuable. They absolutely are, but they need to be delivered and delivered in a client-centric way. So, for example, if you do have something to offer your client, a solution or a I don't even want to say the word advice because it's more of an offering. It should always be offered as a way and not the way. And if ever you are offering something, it should never be a directive. It should always be an invitation. How does that land for you? Does that feel good to you? And the client owns this process. The client gets to choose. The client gets to say, no, it doesn't, but actually this over here does. And staying inside of a very a coaching mindset and being a client-centered coach, allowing your client to lead the way, you get to, the client gets to decide. There's no greater sign of trust and intimacy inside of a coaching relationship when a client tells me, no, actually, that's not what I mean. Or no, actually, that doesn't serve me, but this does over here. It tells me that I've built enough trust and intimacy with this person that they feel empowered to speak their truth inside sessions. So client-centered, letting the client choose the topic, the measure of success, the direction. They get to choose what happens in the session. They get to choose their next steps. They get to choose their answers. And we're holding space for that wisdom to emerge in the conversation. So I want to offer you a reflection to really help to integrate client centricity into because it is a rewiring of the brain, isn't it? Holding another person whole, capable, resourceful, and creative is a rewiring of the brain, and it doesn't happen overnight. So an inquiry I want to invite you into to help deepen this is to really pay attention the next time someone approaches you with a problem or they want to talk something through with you, or they're in a crisis. I want you to pay attention to the desire to jump in and fix, heal, save, put back together, solution, problem solve. I want you to pay attention to your desire to do that. And instead of doing that, lean back into perhaps even sifting in the discomfort of not jumping on it, but leaning back into what would it look like to hold this person so whole, knowing that they have the solutions and the answers inside of them. What would it look like to trust in their inner resourcefulness, their inner creativity, right? What would it look like to not walk away from that person, but to be with that person inside the midst of their problem or crisis, and really hold space for them to decide what the solution is? So step one might be just sitting in the discomfort of, I think back to that day in coach training when I thought, well, if I'm not fixing or advising or putting back together or solutioning, what the heck am I doing? And so it's really this first step of leaning back and noticing the way our brains are wired to actually jump to fix. And what can exist in the space in between that is absolutely magical. But first step is to really sit in the discomfort of that. Is there anything you want to add, Michelle?
Yeah. And on the other side of the coin, because I think some people are comfortable giving advice, it's their go-to. Other people, not so much. For other people, the answers seem harder to find. So, an invitation to notice, where are you looking for answers outside of yourself? And where is there an opportunity to notice, uncover, acknowledge the answers and the wisdom that you actually do have inside of yourself? So sit back, notice, where do I feel like I don't know? And I'm looking outside of myself. And can you sit very quietly and see what little answers or wisdom or snippets of truth might want to bubble up and be heard and acknowledged by you?
I love that invitation. Stay tuned for our next skills training, which is all about honest, powerful questions.